Welcome to the Downtown, brought to you by Arlington Citizen Media. I am Rody John, and this week we talk with Kevin Lorenson with 1877 Studios about how Revolver Media opened up 1877 Studios, what he hopes for the future of 1877 Studios, and so much more. This is about an hour conversation with just an old friend. It kind of bounces all over the place, but it is so much fun. This is, as we mentioned in there, it's been a long time in the making getting Kevin on the show. Again, I've known him since high school. I've known his family even longer. It's such a great conversation, and I can't wait for y'all to hear it. But also, you get to hear local music from Zachary Lastname off his new album, The Beautiful Pieces of a Fragmented Mind. This album came out on New Year's Eve, and if you haven't been listening to it nonstop, then I'm not even sure you really love local music. I'm just kidding. It is a fantastic album. It's on all streaming services. Please check it out. But the name of the song is Don't Forget Me. You will hear that later. But first, here is Copperhead Jones with Cold Beers and Tight Lines.
Place I learned to fish, paradise I surely miss. Santa Bill had the cloud, but that's not what we're about. A sailor's dream, cracking noon charter, a fisherman's dream, ran that water. I guess a pirate's life for me, drinking my cares away. It was St. James City that was full of memories. It's a damn good time, cold beers and tight lines. I wanna fish on the sea with a beer in my hand, but that mangrove called me. Then the boat hit the sand. That prop got tore up, the hull was flooded, so I put clear in my cup. I guess the pirate's life for me, drinking my cares away, out on that open sea. It was St. James City that was full of memories. The damn good time, cold beers and tight lines. It was a damn good time, cold beers and tight lines. Ragged ass saloon, we always left too soon. I can't wait to get back there. Cares away, out on that open sea. St. James City that was full of memories. It's a damn good time, cold beers and tight lines. It was a damn good time, cold beers and tight lines.
I am here with Kevin Lorenson from Revolver Media, but we are inside 1877 Studios. How are you today, sir?
Oh, man, I'm alive and kicking.
Yeah.
That's a great way to start, right?
Exactly. Anytime you wake up is a good day.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah. Now, you may think, wow, this podcast sounds crazy professional right now. And it's not because I'm recording it from my phone. It's because we're in 1877 studios. Tell us all about this place.
Oh man, it's a fun little project we've been working on. So, a little background: we've worked in video production for years now, and we found ourselves, staying busy and getting projects and doing stuff like that. But one thing that we haven't really seen is a place locally that we can kind of do the work that we want to do. We have to kind of go out into Fort Worth and Dallas, which is fine,
Right.
But with a growing company, we had needs of space, and at the same time, we had wants to grow and expand what we do. So we thought, let's do a studio. And frankly, I'm super happy to be on this podcast with you because I love podcasts. I think it's a great way, an easy, great way for people to spread their messages. And one of the first things we did was put this podcast studio in, and we actually have spaces for other ones. But I'm glad to share it with you, my friend.
I'm glad that we're sharing this as well. So a little background: back in 2020, the world kind of shut down for a little bit. A little thing called COVID. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. You may have crossed your Twitter feed maybe once or twice. Yes.
Okay, I'll have to look into that.
Look into it. Yeah. It's a really small entry into Wikipedia. But we were putting together a fundraiser for local musicians, local artists, local venues, and so forth. And I did reach out to you for helping us with the recording or just kind of bouncing off ideas with you. You helped me quite a bit. We did very well. We only did one of them because, after that we didn't, just like the rest of the world, we didn't exactly know what the whole pandemic was going to look like, but we were hopeful, obviously. And, musicians started working again, concerts started happening again, restaurants opened up. So we were going to work together back then, but now almost 3 years later, here we are working.
We find ourselves working together, man. I'll tell you, right whenever that was going down, I remember talking with you and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And, it's like, I think this is a great idea. And so many people were doing these sorts of things. It was just a matter of like, oh my goodness, how do we keep up this content? And then how do we keep people where they're feeling safe together and things of that nature? And I'm glad to see it worked out. And I'm glad to see that, so many other people are now open to like projecting their message in a different way. Yeah. Like for us, that's excellent because there was always a cookie cutter way of getting a message out. And now people can be creative.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to go back to it. That's the whole reason we're here.
Yeah.
Was we wanted a creative space, right? Like for people that have creative vision like yourself to come use it. And, I mean, it's the tip of the iceberg with what you want to do. Like not just podcasts. I mean, you can sync video up to these things. I just love it. Like, and we don't have that in Arlington. So, but I keep on going down that road of what we do, but looking back on it, it's kind of funny. It's not just what we talked about in, early COVID. I mean, we've been talking communications. How long have I known you, John?
I mean, we rode to TCC together
for a communications class. I mean, it's crazy. The world has come a very long way.
But I mean, I've known you, since high school at least, because we both went to Martin.
Yeah. 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 And I'm not going to disclose my age, but I know there's a new, there's a banner year coming up for me. So we'll leave it at that. I'll let people guess how old I am.
I mean, I've known your whole family. I was, your brother was in my friend's bands, or they were in bands together. I've known your sister forever. I was the male of honor in her wedding. So, our families go back a long ways.
It's a deep interconnection.
Yes, exactly.
Is what it is. Yes. So.
Well, but let's bring it back to where we are, 1877 Studios. Where did the brainchild and the idea come from? Because, like you said, you do love podcasts, and right now there's well over 1 million. I'm sure someone's grandma or great grandmother has their own podcast about sewing, I bet. So, or anything else. But where did this idea come from? Because, like you said, there's not really a lot of places or any place in Arlington for people to go and record a podcast.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong there. So with Revolver working, we actively do podcasts for other people. We go and we would record their podcasts and do that sort of stuff. And it was, I mean, I have an audio background first and foremost. And I was like, man, this is not like above my pay grade in any way, shape, or form to put something like this together. And, the more I start to think about it, I'm like, what better way? Because people have stuff to say,
True.
you know, and how many times can you sit there and you can scroll through a million thoughts and whatever? Like the social media, you know, way of doing things is fluid and always changing, right? So, you know, for someone who's in a car a lot, you know, I was like, man, I'm not going to sit in my car and just scroll Instagram, right?
Right. I mean, you could, but it's very dangerous.
I could. I was told that's a bad idea. Yeah. And the police officer was very nice about it.
At least they were nice about it. Yeah.
But, you know, if I'm driving around, I can take in content and I can, like you said, there's tons of different podcasts out there, and I can listen to what I want to listen to, and I can take in the content I want to, and I can kind of just get in my headspace, you know, for a 45-minute drive, and I can get actual context to rather than a post that says, this is the office for the day or something generic, right? I can get some deeper context into what someone's thinking.
Right.
And you talk about millions of podcasts and all this stuff going on. One thing that I've come to realize is what we talk about, whether it be like, you know, a podcast studio, or like, I know you're real into beers and wrestling podcasts and things like that. And then Citizens Media with the community aspect.
Right.
Everybody has a voice, and there is millions and millions of people that someone is interested in what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So like it builds that community. And I was like, I used to have this this kind of thought that I was like, oh man, I could talk about, you know, a gear podcast, and I talk about AV gear because I love gear, right?
Right.
Oh, nobody's going to want to listen to that. And then I'm just like, am I crazy? Like I went to YouTube University, man. Like I love taking in other people's content. And, you know, so why would I not want something like that? Right.
Exactly.
And frankly, Arlington in specific is home to an outrageous amount of creatives.
Very much so. Yeah.
Right. And I know professionally, whenever I was working, I could not stand driving to Dallas. Right.
It's so far away.
Exactly.
People are like, oh, you live in Dallas. No, that's 30 minutes that way.
Oh my gosh, not even close.
Yeah.
So you've got, I wanted to have like a space where somebody that grew up in Arlington, lives in Arlington, can actually stay in Arlington and do the things they want. I mean, I think about like even larger scale stuff. Arlington years ago, you know, we had Six Flags.
Yeah.
And the park's small, right?
Yeah.
And now there's a growth to like bring in bigger and better, you know, with like what Cordish Companies is doing in partnership with the Rangers and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it's driving these people to, and it's putting a spotlight on Arlington, right? So if I can be a conduit to help people shine in that spotlight, you know, why not, right?
Exactly. I mean, you mentioned before we started recording, you were talking to people that were dealing with the Yellowstone series, and they were filming down in Venus, which isn't crazy far away either.
No, not at all. I mean, I think they're doing filming down there. I mean, you've got, you know, a lot of film work coming over out of California because of restrictions and things like that.
Well, plus so many people are moving out of there, and it's like you said, everything's just crazy expensive to do out there as it is. Plus all the hoops you have to jump through to even try to film like a 6-second video or whatever. Unless you're a TikTok person, and then you can do whatever. Yeah,
exactly. But you're not joking. The hoops that you have to jump through. It's like, think about somebody, and let's go back to, you know, what this is right here. This is a place where people can do that, and and maybe they can. You know, it's not such a large commitment to go to a big time studio in Dallas or something like that. You can come here and work on your craft. Right. And you can learn those things. And maybe you could not have the restrictions and, you know, the tie downs of any like major stuff, you know, and actually just do what you want to do.
Right.
I mean, that's the way that Revolver has always worked. You know, we work in corporate and tourism, you know, and one of the compliments we get a lot is we're just easier to work with because we don't, you know, some production teams and stuff like that, they're like, oh man, you got me on that 8-hour day. It's 8 hours and 1 minute. That's going to be time and a half. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah,
we all worked in corporate, so we understand. Like, you know, we've got to serve our clients,
exactly.
right? So let's not be jerks, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing applies here. Like, if I can create this space and not be like so rigid and hard to work with, what's going to come out of here is greatness, right?
Right.
And it's going to be greatness from our hometown.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's amazing, man.
Exactly. And of course, there's so many people that see the success of a Joe Rogan or anybody else with a gigantic podcast or a giant following that way, and they think, oh, I've done 10 podcasts. Why don't I have 1 million listens? It's like, well, that's not exactly how all that works. He had no list. Well, not say no listeners, because Joe Rogan, he was a pretty big comedian, news radio, Fear Factor, UFC, all that fun stuff. And then when he got into the podcast, you know, he was just, like he even said, he was just doing shit out of his basement, or they would just get real high, do some stupid interviews or talks or whatever. And then it took probably about 100 to 200 people like, oh man, this is a really good podcast, because he get all kinds of different people. And now he's on like 1,500 or whatever, because he does one almost every day. And he's got people all the way from like Jordan Peterson to Post Malone to, you know, Snoop Dogg, like everybody in between. So he's got all this following, but you have to keep building. And it's like a musician, you're going to play the shitty dive bars where there's 6 people. One of them's a regular named Earl that's there every time. He's probably passed out by your third song.
Earl's my number one fan, man.
Exactly. Because he's like, woo, yeah, brother. But you have to play those before you can play the House of Blues, Cowboy Stadium, whatever you want to do.
You know, it's funny you say that the always keep going and always that. That's a major point when I start thinking about places like this where it's content creation, like
Right.
Revolver's production. 1877 is content creation, right? You know, one of the things that makes me feel comfortable with what I'm doing is I've got kids, right? And they love YouTube. They love YouTubers and things of that nature, right? We've actually got to work with some of these YouTubers that are on like a pretty high level, right? And you quickly realize that they are on this ultra grind, right?
Yeah.
And over COVID, people could just pump out content because they had nothing better to do, right?
They weren't going anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, and not just YouTubers. If someone is doing an educational program, something, whatever.
Well, you got like that YouTube dad that shows you how to change your tire, oil, put shelves up, whatever. Yeah.
But the sentiment of that is the guy like that has got a brand now. It's not because he did one video,
right?
He batched all this content over here, and like we talk about like people doing podcasts. People come and do a podcast. You expect them to be like, all right, we're going to come do a one podcast, and then we're gone. All right, you know. Now people are thinking about it more strategically, right? Well, hey, I'm going to come in and I'm going to I have to be consistent. I have to be strategic with my marketing, right? So I'm going to do batch content. So I'm going to make let's just say a video a quarter, but I'm going to do it in one day.
Right.
And then the next day of my work week, I'm going to work on my text that goes with the, the images for the marketing campaign, right? And people are able to now strategically get their message. They're building all this content, and they're not just, they're sitting, I don't want to say they're sitting back, but now they're strategic releasing their content, and they're becoming successful because people can live off their content. I've seen videos go viral where they pop real big in views, and what happens is the people that pop and get growth, if they don't have a video before or after for like, I'm viewer A that sees your video about LaCroix water, and I love that video, it's amazing. I go to your next piece of content, right? But there's nothing there or nothing relevant. At that point, you're out of the algorithm, right?
Yeah.
So like that's one of those things like you have to keep working.
True.
You have to get a library of stuff, and it's like it's totally doable.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone's breaking backs over here making content.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to make little of it because I know a lot of people make really crazy content.
Oh, of course.
But like, to close the loop on it, like we're just talking, man. You know what I mean? We're talking about stuff that we like to do, dude.
Yeah, I mean, not everything you're going to put out is bangers. And also there's so many times you don't know what is going to hit. Like there's times I'll look at, I mean, I don't exactly know every time and how much I'm being downloaded, but I have an estimate that I get from Spreaker or whatever. So sometimes it'll be like, oh yeah, you got 100 listens on this one. I was like, wait, what? And then the next week you have 12 listens. I'm just like, why is it this one and then not the other one? But it's crazy, like the weirdness of it. But you bring it back to the strategic part of it. So the other podcast I do called Bruisers is all about beer, coffee, bruisers, and booze. I have to strategically put, okay, well, so like let's say 2 weeks ago last week was New Japan Pro Wrestling has what they call their WrestleMania. They call it Wrestle Kingdom, the Super Bowl of Japanese wrestling. I had the English commentator for New Japan come on the show, kind of interviewed him a little bit, but also mixed in a preview of it. I did that strategically because I was like, okay, I want this the week before it comes, or that show. And for me, it was huge because I love them. He's fantastic. And he is the gateway or the guide because they don't speak English, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
They speak Japanese, obviously, because it's a Japanese wrestling company. So if let's say it was a WWE people and they were trying to do it in Japan, they'd want the Japanese commentator. So it was that way. So I strategically did that one. But now also it's, all right, I got 2 breweries. I'm going to do a break from a brewery, do somebody else, and then release it that way. So like right now, I'm booked up till March. Like content-wise, I'm locked.
And that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yes.
It's a good problem to have.
Now you're ahead of that wave that's going to crash.
Exactly. So now I can kind of be like, okay, I want to put this person here, and then I will do this one. So that way, listener-wise, you're not like beer. Oh, it's all about beer. No, you get this person, and the randomness of that. And so I think a lot of people now need to start, if they are going to continue to build onto their, I guess, quote unquote brand, as I don't want to say hate that term, but it's so like ingrained in us now that like, this is your brand, this is what you do. But you have to navigate and figure out what your brand is going to be and consistently work on that brand. But then also it's that weird, you have to be fluid and you have to be ever evolving. You can't just be like, nope, this is what we do, and that's all we're ever going to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And part 2 of that, I was like, you have to be more than just a content creator guy.
Right.
You got to be a marketer.
Yeah.
Which
they don't teach you. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, you can go to marketing school, but for the most part, back when we went to school, marketing was completely, social media wasn't even a thing.
All right, guys, we're going to talk about print media.
Yeah.
Like, I think MySpace was,
Tom was everybody's friend.
Yeah, I can't remember if I was in high school when that came out or if I was in early college.
Yeah, I think a little of both.
Maybe a little bit. I know it was like AOL Instant Messenger was my way to connect and communicate. But
ASL,
MySpace,
girl.
Yeah. But what's crazy is when you talk about the brand and stuff. It's like we are a brand.
We're all
it doesn't
walking
matter.
brands.
I know it's not fun, but part 2 of that is like, when you're working to be yourself, you're also just showcasing and validating yourself. This is something I saw the other day that I thought was interesting. And you can kind of take this as a couple different ways. If you're looking for a new job in 2023, right? You're not just going to be like, all right, well, February 1st come up. I'm going to get a job, because I think we all know that's not the way it works. But you're planning, right?
Right.
I know that in July, I want to be transitioned into a new career. One of the major social media suggestions that is made, I guess, from the whoever makes those decisions or says they're good, is brand validation, right? And if you're validating yourself as a professional in the field that you want to work at, right? So LinkedIn is still very valuable in corporate world.
Big time.
Yeah, huge. If you want to work in, I don't know, leather goods.
Right.
I have no idea, man. It doesn't matter. If you want to work in leather goods, that's your goal in 2023. You're going to spend your year or your 6 months up into validating your brand and showing that you're invested in it.
Yeah.
Because whenever people look back at you, they're not necessarily looking at your references because everybody's got kind of the same benchmarks things. You need to stand out.
Yeah.
Right. So if you stand out by saying, man, this person for the last 6 months, like how many people are going to go deeper than that? They're going to look back and you're daily commenting on leather goods.
Yeah.
Posting articles on leather goods, giving your opinion. That shows everyone that you're invested and validated. And by the time you get to that point, you probably, you're definitely in that vein because you wanted to go that way.
Right.
You did the work to get that way. Let's say you ended up in the position that you were in. you got the job, whatever. That's because you're validated, right? The same thing applies with your brand and who you want to be. Because when people look at you, in social media land, they don't look at you. They don't even, I'm a talker. I want people to pick up their phone, but I know people don't do that anymore. People like to text.
They're like, oh, why am I getting a phone call? What's wrong?
Oh, Kevin's calling again. What? I'm old school, man. I can't help it. But people will look at your social to validate you, and it's the same thing. Like if it's just the way it is. So if you can link in, if you can find that formula for validation, batch marketing, and good content, and consistency, I guess.
True. Because you can't put out a podcast 1 week and then you don't do another one for 6 more weeks. It's like, well, you've already lost. People forgot about you because we're in such a, we see in the news cycle all the time. A story will break today. If we don't hear about it again for 3 or 4 weeks, we're like, oh, we're still talking about that? Like
COVID?
Right.
What is that? Yeah. But seriously, like if you can hit all those benchmarks, like give me a reason why you can't be successful.
Right.
And building and doing what you want to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I think I don't know if that's the entrepreneurial mindset that like I think true entrepreneurs, that's ingrained in them, right? That get up, I love Mondays, type of thing, right? That's ingrained in everybody. And you look at the Great Recession and then you look at 2023 coming up, which there's a prediction of 1 million layoffs and stuff like that. Because at the same time, people were jumping in jobs they couldn't get because people needed people and, things like that. I feel like there's going to be this trend of people still saying, you know what, I'm not going back to the rat race. I need to do me.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard and that's not for everybody.
Especially if you have family or whatever, it's not an easy thing.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I worked in corporate for years before doing this. And it was a big deal when we made the leap to be self-employed.
Right. Those taxes alone you got to do.
Oh, my goodness. That we could do like 10 episodes on
on what to do and not to do when it comes to starting your own business.
Yeah, speaking about it, man, we talk about like having like you're a content creator, you're a marketer, man, you're an accountant, you're your own CPA, you're all these things, man. I would love to get somebody in here, and I'm not saying I get it.
Right.
I mean, I understand what you got to do, at come the year and stuff like that. But man, if I had someone, if it was just like, hey, this is my, tax and accounting advice show. I'd be the dumb idiot who would just be like, so, man, got those 1099 NECs coming out from my subcontractors? Tell me about that. And then I want someone smart sitting across from me that just talks.
Yes.
I would listen to that.
Right.
And if I would listen to it, man, and
like you said, if
there's a market.
There's a market for everything. People don't realize it. Like, even if you are a coin collector or you do the baseball cards or obviously Twitch is so massive at this point that it's also bled over into YouTube and vice versa. That's like people, I tried to explain esports to people and it still blows their mind that people pay money to go watch other people play video games, and those people playing video games could win up to millions of dollars.
Oh my goodness. We designed an esports stadium.
And you're a veteran at 25.
Yeah, a veteran.
Yeah.
We designed an esports stadium, one locally, and this was right when the pandemic hit. They were just getting open, and they had a tournament come in there. So I was there kind of like commissioning the space for them, and it was awesome. Like it really was. Yeah. It was really cool. They kind of let me pick what I wanted to do, and I was really grateful for it. But there was these kids. I mean, they're kids, man.
Yeah, they are. You can't professionally do it until you're 18.
Yeah.
But of course, the kids are doing it under 18 as well.
And they're coming in, and these kids are making like these normal kids making $100,000 a year, and they're talking about the prize pool and the way that the swagger that these kids have.
Yes.
For playing games, and it's not a world that I live in. My business partner is super into gaming. He could probably talk for hours on it because he gets it.
Yeah, I have friends that way too.
Yeah, and it's this world. And think about this. I think about my kids and what they're going to do professionally, or how they're going to make money when they get old.
Right.
Older, pardon me. And now you got these kids that are making a living wage, out earning their parents,
Right.
playing.
And they still live at their parents' house.
No, those kids are smarter than most. It's
Well,
so much cheaper.
they're also not. I mean, I guess a lot of them are transporting their entire lives over to America because like the Koreans and the Japanese are so far ahead of the Americans that any like, let's say Overwatch League or Call of Duty, you're having more international players moving to America just to play.
Was the opportunity higher here?
I think the money is possibly higher, and also, seems weird because
I know
that those countries have dumped millions upon billions of dollars. India alone, I think, put over $1 billion a couple of years ago into the esports world, and I know that like I think it was Korea where they've had the Olympics. They packed that thing for one of the most watched live esports games and possibly tournaments, but it's crazy.
Yeah, it's madness, and it's very humbling,
right?
Because I'll sit down with my kids. They love playing Fortnite, right?
Yeah,
and man, I just can't. I try.
I see it. I think it's beautiful. But I mean, obviously, we grew up on Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
a million times better now.
Exactly.
They're playing movies. Like that's how great everything looks.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that you can communicate with people. I mean, we got our oldest son an Xbox when COVID hit. It wasn't for the games because we thought he might be a little. I just wasn't ready to pull that like, we're gonna get you an Xbox, right?
Right.
We got it so he could communicate, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Now everybody's connected, right? Over these games, these consoles. I mean, yesterday, what is today? I don't know what today is. The other day before we went back from winter break, my son didn't want to get off, but they weren't even playing. They were just talking.
Weird.
So they were like, everybody's kind of playing their own games and stuff like that, and like, it's amazing because they got to hang out with their friends. And I'm not saying that it's better to hang out over a computer, but let's be realistic about it. They could be connected with their friends pretty readily availably, over the whole winter break. And yeah, they got to get together in person and stuff like that. But like, it's not the same world where it's like, all right, let's get home by the time the lights get on and you hit your bike and you're gone. Like, that's not it, man.
No.
That just doesn't, exist anymore. So like this gaming culture being connected, and all that sort of stuff, it's amazing. I'm curious to see how that grows. I don't know if I'd ever want to push my kids down that avenue.
Right. I mean, obviously there are so many kids that's what they want to do. They want to be Twitch stars. They want to be competitive esportsers, which there's nothing wrong with that, which again, by the time you're 25, somehow you're already aged out for the most part. Like even if you're in your 30s playing it, you're now Tom Brady because you are just the quote unquote old veteran that's still hanging around. But also by that time, so many people have stopped playing and they own their own teams or their own companies. Like it's absolutely incredible. And then you also have on the other side so many Twitch people that could be good enough to compete, but they don't want to. They have enough personality that they're doing their own thing, making so much money that it's great. Like I was lucky enough to cover the esports awards twice when it was here. And some of these people, I have no idea who they are, but in my head, I was like, there is a kid that if I, like your kid, whatever that 16-year-old that won like the big Fortnite thing forever ago.
Bro, I have no idea.
Yeah, but if your kid knew that I was like within arm's distance of that guy, his head would have exploded.
Oh man, I've got a funny story about that, about the world and the way that people make money and stuff like that. And so content creation, YouTube kids as well, like Twitch, whatever. We did my kids love it. They love, Preston, Unspeakable, Lanky Bach. Oh my goodness, Lanky Bach.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so I have no idea what any of these
You
are.
don't want to know. But these guys are, multi-million-dollar incomes. And
yeah, like that one kid made so much money just opening toys and playing with them.
Oh, my Ryan's toy review, bro.
See, I don't even know who that was.
Man, you're out of it. You're out of it.
That's so far old now?
Yeah, we took we actually, tying back to what we do, we actually provided some content for a YouTuber named Preston.
Okay.
And he's, I don't want to say what it is because I don't exactly know, so I'll speak out of turn or whatever. But he's a top earner. Had AT&T Stadium, brought 50 YouTubers in, and their entire reason for being there was to play hide and seek. It was I think it was like a 12-hour shoot day. It was unreal. And all we did was like kind of track them. They comped the video. It's Preston's hide and seek, right? And frankly, it was kind of like just a hold a camera and follow. It wasn't a heavy production. So yeah, it was not something that exactly like amazingly piqued my interest. One of my friends was the producer of the event. And so I was like, oh yeah, I get to work with my friend and whatever. But if I'm being honest, the reason I took that job is because I knew that my kids would get to see who Preston is. Yeah. And when we got there, I've got pictures galore, and they were like pointing out, that's that guy, and that's that guy, and that's whatever. And they got to get photos. They got to talk to him. And the thing is, these are real people.
Yeah.
It's not like, you've got like, let's think about this. When I said I wouldn't push my kids into esports, right?
Right.
That's a league.
True.
A league has a number.
Yeah.
This other universe of social and content creation, you have people that are in there making more than NFL athletes playing hide and seek. And I can't talk about leather goods to a whole market and find a niche somewhere. I mean, they're playing. I mean, all these people, all they do, I don't say all they do. I will not discredit what they do because they really do pump content, right?
Yeah.
But some of them just have some, totally achievable content. So why not? Why not? The market is huge. So why not put people out there? I don't know.
I mean, you're right. Now, if people did want to come here and record and just check out your spot, because you gave me a wonderful tour, and the creative part of my brain was exploding, but also I wouldn't know exactly what to do. I would want to be the conduit of like, hey, I know you're a local musician. You want to do a new video for your new song or whatever. Come here. They have this fantastic area in the back that you could record all kinds of stuff. And then there was the other room where I was like, just let a photographer go nuts back there. Like it's crazy. So if people wanted to come here and create content, and you obviously also being the conduit for that, how do they get in touch with you, and what does that even look like?
Man, I think the best way at this point right now is if someone wants to use a space like that. I think we're trying to find this separation between Revolver Media and 1877 Studios, right?
It's just one inside the other, like a nesting doll.
Yeah, basically it's co-working for us. Right. Like Revolver just kind of offices here, and it's anyway, that's a whole other thing. But if someone says, hey man, I want to come check out the space, the best thing to do is go to 1877 Studios, on Insta or website or Facebook, whatever. You can reach them all there. And that would say for someone who's like, I already know what I want to do. I just need a space to do it. Yeah. That's where I want to go in and do that stuff. If I'm like, hey man, I don't know what I want to do, but I want someone to help produce for me and maybe direct me or maybe help with production. That's probably where we lean more going into the Revolver end, because Revolver's production, 1877 is creative, right? So if in the world we live in, go to the socials. The website's got phone numbers. A lot of people just we get a lot of communication just through DMs. Yeah. That's more likely the way that we're going to communicate with people, which blows my mind.
Yeah. like if you are a content creator or creator of any sort, check out your DM requests. There's so many times, like I'm having the same, it's not an issue, but it's the same.
It's a new world.
Exactly. Well, I have to go check mine on a regular basis just in case somebody's trying to reach out to me. And then I'm also trying to reach out to other people through their DMs. And they're like, oh, I was just going through my request and I saw it. And I was like, well, glad you did a month or two later, but still.
Because the reality is part two of that. It's the fastest way to get to us, right?
Hence direct message.
So, yeah, exactly. So we talked earlier about vetting and validating yourself and stuff like that. We're going to go to they're going to like, what do you do? Like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when people talk about, oh, I want to go to this venue. Go to the website. You look it up. Oh, there's a phone number. I'm going to call them. That is way too many steps for the youth of America, right? So I want to go to IG, check out what they got. Oh, I can just contact them right here.
Yep.
Like, why add another element, and that's probably the best way to do it. Like, at this point, man, I'm just more excited to show, people what it is. I encourage everybody to reach out to me. If you would happily share my information, I love that. I love to show it.
Yeah.
This is still a new venture.
Yeah.
Right. For us. So, and we're excited about it. And I want to share that excitement, but how it is right now. It's not like we're just going to just post. This will grow communally, locally. And as we start to share, other people share and talk and tag, share, talk, and tag should be its own like marketing campaign.
I mean, I think you're making the sticker right now.
In my brain, I can hear Brad over there on PowerPoint in the Revolver office. Oh, I heard that. That's really good.
I'm using it right now.
Yeah. So that would be the best thing. And like I said, the idea is we don't have to be here, right? That's the way that this works, kind of. So, Revolver is Revolver, but 1877 is going to be one of those things where it's, hey, you get your access card, your code, and you book your time, whatever, however you want to do that. Whether that be, buy a block of time or you reserve, hourly type of thing. There's a handful of angles how we can do it, but it doesn't mean like, because I know a lot of people, like I said earlier, like I like to talk to people and I want to communicate, right? A lot of people don't like to do that.
True.
And so, and frankly, it's probably better off if I'm not here, because I know sometimes when we do shoots, I turned into producer guy.
Yeah.
And I want to help and I want to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, these people are clearly smarter than me. That's why they're using this space. So I need to let them do what they want to do. Right. So, that's kind of the way it sets up. So like as this grows, like I won't have to be here. You can come be creative without a producer. You can have a space.
Yeah.
That's it. Like if I could go back in time and back when we were doing the music thing, right? And that was a wildly successful time for me.
Of course.
Right. If I had this, the content that I could make.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I feel like we had a good, that was a good season for my life. But if I had the ability to do some of the stuff the bigger guys are doing because they had the budget.
Yep.
We don't have the budget back then. But if we had the space like this where we could do some of those things
or even just a house or a room inside your home that you just made this that was it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why we would do those things. But, we would never have the ability, I could go back to that whole thing about like, oh, we got to go to Dallas and we're in a studio for, $1,500 a day. Like, tell me what band that is like bootstraps that are paying just for studio rate. Now we got to pay this camera guy and now we got to pay this lighting guy and we got to do all this stuff. And I don't know where to get the tools and, there's a lot of reality to that. So like just having it, I think about it, this place, if it were me when I was coming up, right? Just what could I have done? Right.
Yeah.
I could go into a whole nother thing about what I think about what you do in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s. Right. Like if I was in my 20s when I'm messing up, trying to figure out what I want to do. Right. But I had more resources like this, I maybe not mess up so much and maybe could get to where I wanted to be come 30s, 40s,
of course,
just that much faster. So,
right. Like, that's just the whole weird part. I mean, as we're getting older, we're like, if we were to take our brain now, put it in our 20-something-year-old body, but then you got to
Roth IRA.
Well, then you're like, would I still have the same people in my life? Would the same experiences have happened? Like you then create this weird fork in the time continuum of your life that in another dimension, you probably did all those things. But in this dimension, this timeline, you have to go through these bad things to get to the good things, which is just life in general, really.
Man, I had someone post a picture from, oh my gosh, it was probably 15 years ago. And we were in the back of a U-Haul.
Yeah.
Because our tour bus broke down and we were going from I think we were going from Victoria, Texas to some festival in Louisiana, right?
Wow. So that's just 10 the whole way out, right?
I think so. Yeah. It would be south. Yeah. And then we looped back to College Station, and I remember, I love those guys, man. They're all, but had I not met one guy at one spot, that path never exists because I was not in that realm at all. And I look back at that picture and I think, oh my goodness, what were we doing in this van, like this U-Haul, riding in the back of it? I remember sleeping in Victoria, Texas, with the gate open when I was around. Oh, it was terrible. Sounds terrible,
right?
But all things considered, the chance of meeting someone that got me into that situation and all the other stories that didn't get posted that were somewhat like that and crazy and wacky are the reasons that I got into the profession and the career that I did.
Right.
Like, you never know what you're going to get to. And like, what better time than your youth to dive right into what you want to do?
Exactly.
Because that creates that tangent, right?
Right. And nostalgia will always be popular because people love thinking about, like you were just saying, pictures that you hadn't thought about or seen in 15 years. And you're like, oh man, I remember that. And then like right after that, we played this place or we went here or whatever.
Sparks flying.
Yes. That's why music's so fantastic too, because songs, I've said, are time machines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They can take you back to the moment you fell in love with somebody, also the next time they broke your heart. So the song you could still love, but then also you have like this tiny
I don't
want to
listen to that anymore. And that's why I don't listen to Justin Bieber, Baby, Baby, Baby. Oh.
I mean,
that's what
the Ludacris rap on there is great, but everything else. Yeah.
Is Ludacris on there?
Ludacris is on that track.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Now I want to do a music podcast because I can go into a million varieties.
I think we all, anybody who really truly loves music could easily do that. Yeah.
I think people that truly love music are just going to love every vein of it. Or if they don't
even
love
the bad stuff.
Well, they'll have some appreciation for it, if anything, so like you could appreciate what it is. And we could also, say that people that love music can also, as a collective, hate music that's terrible.
Exactly.
So we can come together.
Yeah. And all hate it together.
Yes.
I
You
like
got hate in your heart,
Nickelback.
let it out. Hey, you know what? I'm going to say this on the microphone.
Okay. That's the best place to do it for a podcast.
My name is Kevin Lorenson,
Uh-huh.
and I am a fan of Nickelback.
There it is.
It's okay. It's
And
okay.
we're done. And
I
we're
know.
done.
Okay. Beep.
No, if you dive deep in, so I heard, I think the first album, and I was like, ooh, there's some dirty songs on here.
Is there?
Like,
Really? I'm not. I know the pop
okay.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but the poppy stuff, once they got that groove, that was all they wanted to do. But from what I gathered off that first album, or first or second, they got some dirty lyrics in some of those songs, and man,
It's to me like I just appreciate that. Yes, they're ridiculous.
of course.
They are. Now I wish that was like overlapped over my statement, but
No, that's the only soundbite. Is it?
I know you just keep on playing that on loop for 30 minutes. No, the thing is, they are quality musicians.
True.
Right? Their objective was to put out popular songs with the we'll air quote rock energy, right?
Right.
It was digestible
Mhm.
to the greater public, right?
Yeah.
And they did a really good job of it, because don't tell me you're going to play any radio Nickelback song and people are going to know what it is.
Yeah.
It's an objective. And I can support that. And it's the same, and this might be controversy to say, if you don't like Florida Georgia Line, or if you do like Florida Georgia Line, but you hate Nickelback, newsflash, they come from the same group of people.
Right.
So, like, it's just another variant. It's just this version. And if I'm not going to hate on FGL.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go listen to them or pay to go see them.
I'm not going to turn it if it's on the radio, though.
Right.
And that's the point for me. Like, if Nickelback comes on, I'm not angry at the world.
Right.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna listen to look at this photograph,
Right.
and bob my head a little bit and go, okay, that was a good song. All right, next song. But not.
Yeah, you're not going to go run somebody off the road or go, have a mass shooting because you were listening to Nickelback.
Until they started talking about the song with the "Have a Quesadilla," I want to be a rock star. That is this. Oh god, that song is terrible.
It's not a good song.
That's bad. And we come together in hate.
Yeah.
We hate that song together.
Yeah. Also, they're Canadians. What do they know about quesadillas?
You know what? That's an excellent point.
Anything Mexican variety when it comes to cuisine above, let's say, Kansas at best.
Oh, I know.
Do you really want it?
No.
I mean, you might try it as somebody from Texas, be like, oh, this is awful. You don't want to do this. But what do they know about quesadillas up there?
Yeah, we were in, I don't know, somewhere in Colorado, and we tried to order chips and queso. And mind you, this is like some ski resort town.
Oh, okay.
And everybody knows that come winter season, Texas takes over Colorado.
Fair enough.
The idea that they were so surprised with, can we have chips and queso? And they brought us out shredded cheese. Still to this day blows my mind. I'm just like,
come on.
And we had family come down from Minnesota. We went to on the border because we wanted something authentic. You know what I mean?
Obviously.
And I won't hate on them. Like, it's a staple for me, right?
They have good margaritas. They're good.
I'm a Chuy's guy right now.
Oh, Chuy's is
what
great.
I'm feeling.
Yeah.
But they came down and said, "Do you guys want some chips and queso or anything?" And they just stared at us. And this is my family. And they don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, chips and queso, man.
Yeah.
And in fairness, I get it's a Texas thing.
True.
But we have the right to talk about quesadillas.
Yeah.
Not Nickelback.
Not Nickelback.
Yeah.
Like the Minnesota people coming down here asking for cheese curds. You're not getting that.
I don't think I've ever had cheese curds.
They're good. There's actually some places in here in Texas I've had cheese curds. They're fantastic.
I want to talk about, I'm kind of going off the rails here, but you know what? I'm going to hold this one because I've got a really good idea for something I want to do.
There we go. I like that.
But I love talking about, food and entertainment. And I know it's a one of those things where it should always be a popular topic to talk about.
For sure.
Because people eat every day.
People have to eat every day.
People get entertained.
That's why we carry around phones now, right?
Exactly, right? So, and I think I've said this a jillion times. I love the idea of a community. Like, I love being proud of where you're from.
Same.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But if you could talk about the things, and I know it's not like a new idea, but find a way to take that idea locally and elevate it to the quality that we expect.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's where I think a lot of stuff falls off. And, that goes back to the whole thing of why we have this space.
Right.
Because it's not, no disrespect, rinky dink, like, oh, we'll come in the place and we'll use our 10-year-old camera and take a headshot for you. And, that's no disrespect to the people that do that professionally, because there's definitely a space for it. But what I'm thinking is if you have the tools locally, because a lot of people are creative, they're super smart, they're super creative,
Yes.
they just don't have the tools.
Yes.
So once you realize that you can take your creativity and utilize tools provided by others, you can do amazing stuff, right?
Yeah.
And being local, if we can do that, we can be the tool for somebody else to because it'd be ignorant to say that, like, oh, I have got all the best ideas in the world. Like, oh, I know this is a great idea, whatever. Like, every person that walks up and down this street probably has an idea that is unique to them and way more amazing. Oh, I would have never thought of that. So if everybody has their I never would have thought of that moment, and we can help bring that story to life, I mean, that's awesome.
That's really all there is to it. Yeah. And you get to do it here in Arlington.
That's the thing. It's not, I mean, I spent my professional career driving up 360, and it was like right up there, right by, right close to the airport. Right. And I was like, man, I had opportunities to work in Dallas, and, good jobs. Right.
Right.
I was like, I'm never crossing. I was on the east side of 360. I was right on the east side of 360. And I was like, never. I'm never going further than this. And the idea that I can not touch a highway to get here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's amazing to me. And like, I know there's places in Arlington where you probably maybe would consider hitting a highway to get here, but you really don't. I mean, we're right in the heart of it, man.
Yeah. You don't have to. I mean, you're right off Cooper Street.
Yeah. It's perfect. Yeah. It's close to north, it's close to south, and I know that there's like, those are two different worlds in Arlington.
Yeah. If you're in North Arlington, you're not going to South Arlington for a lot, vice versa.
No. And it's interesting to find out where the people in the North Arlington think the cutoff is, and likewise to me, like, I grew up south of 20. you know, and that people think that that's a field. And for a long time it was, right? You know, so we're definitely way south, but you know, I'm like seconds, minutes away from like the entertainment district. The things that I think are cool about Arlington growing up and getting big and doing all this stuff are right down the street from me.
Right.
You know, and likewise, they're right down the street from the North Arlington folks too.
Yep.
And like, if people are coming up south and they can, you know, actually be active in the community, engaged, and you know, it's kind of hard to be, you know, active and engaged in the community when you're out in the burbs.
True.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's just, you know, it is kind of exciting to, you know, say, okay, well, we're here, we'll do some more stuff and move around. And I like being here. It takes me out of my normal routine.
Yeah.
You know, like during the day, like I don't have problems, you know, going to downtown Arlington and, you know, a bunch of my restaurant buddies down there off Mesquite and all that. Like, I can actually enjoy those things without it being like this big deal because I'm already here in Central Arlington.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's really cool.
Yeah.
So
Now, we have a segment on the show called Tournament of Toppings. We're trying to find the best pizza place in Arlington. What is your favorite pizza place in Arlington?
oh my goodness. John, I knew I loved you for a reason. I don't want to get too deep into this. I want a pizza restaurant, and I will have the best pizza.
Okay.
I've talked about it. We've created a brand. We've created all this stuff, and it was right in the middle of COVID, and it was going into it. It was like, oh, we're gonna create our own brand. We're gonna make our own pizza place because I just love pizza culture.
Yeah,
it's awesome. And
so I'm guessing you've watched Top Chef Pizza.
No, I don't watch a lot of TV.
Not Top Chef. It's a Netflix show or whatever the show.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I started the first episode and then I started doing other things.
I'm a terrible TV guy. But back to the question at hand. So we wanted to have a pizza restaurant. So then my short answer would be it would be my pizza. That would be the best. But that's a terrible answer because it doesn't exist yet. But it's like one of these.
You're putting it in the universe.
You can't have something in existence unless you speak it there.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
So at least that's step one, right?
Step one of the secret, I believe.
Yeah. So, but you know, restaurant world. So anywho, if I could get back to the best pizza, man, I love Cane Rosso.
Cane Rosso is fantastic.
I just love the wood fire.
Yeah.
You know, the coal, whatever the wood fire oven they've got.
And they bring them over from Italy too.
The oven?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why that one took so long.
Really?
Here in Arlington, right? Yeah. That's what I was told anyway. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But it sounds a lot better. I do love also that everyone is different and everyone is ingrained in the community. Like this one uses Hurtado barbecue. When Legal was open, they had Legal Draft on tap, and it's so fantastic.
Years ago, before that was a place, and years and years and years and years ago, and I said I would drive by, and I was like, man, I would really love to do something with this place. And at the time, it was Capital Bar, and now it's the gaming arcade, whatever.
Yeah, Free Play.
Free Play.
Yes.
And I thought that place was so like that's the perfect building. Right. And then I started digging into what it took to get that building, right? Mm-hmm. And then right when I started to dig into it, Capital Bar acquired it, and the rest is history with the building. And then I just kept on staring at the Cane Rosso building. I said, how, like, this is inactive.
Mm-hmm.
This has got potential to be something amazing. And I got to be honest with you, I'm so happy that Cane Rosso did what they did there.
Same.
Like, it makes me happy, for one, that it's in the community. It makes me happy, too, that it validated my realization that that place should be a restaurant. Right. That place should be, and there's other places like that.
Yes. If you drive up and down Division, there's tons of them.
Tons.
Even Collins.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the fact that people were doing those things, like, I love it, man. Yeah. But, you know, it is bone crushing that I didn't have the spot that Cane Rosso was there. Granted, Mr. Rosso is a professional restaurateur while I'm a video production guy. Yeah. So he has a little bit of an advantage over me to get in his space. But, you know, I if I could, I would, and it would be a pizza place. It'd be a pizza place or it'd be an ice cream place. Because
I don't know why it couldn't be both. Kids love both also, and adults love both.
They do. You know,
I mean, look what Melt's done out in Fort Worth. They're crazy.
Man, they really are, aren't they?
Yeah.
I just love the idea of it. I worry that if I did that, I would eat way too much ice cream.
Oh, you'd be very fat. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be fat.
No, neither do I.
You know?
I'm on the way back from
You're bulking up.
Yeah, exactly. During the holiday time,
Yeah.
I was, because I knew what I was going to do in January. I was going to
Get lean.
Yes. And my girlfriend was just kept patting my belly, and I was like, listen, this is bulking season. You can hate it right now.
Yeah, but trust me.
Yeah, you're going to hate me at the end of January.
Yeah, I know your journey, man. I think that would, not to take a topic off, but to share topic, right? I remember years ago you had a weight loss journey.
Yeah.
A physical
I lost
fitness journey.
about 70 pounds.
Yeah.
60 to 70 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember seeing an article about it. And I to this day, I still see that you post almost daily these positive affirmations.
Oh, every day the whiteboard? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I might be wrong. That came out of that time of your life.
Yeah. It was one of those things. We're trying to wrap this up, but it was one of those things that I was trying to change my mindset. So what I would do is, it's all over social media, no matter where you are, you'll find these, somebody's already made an image, it's got some starry sky or whatever behind it, and then, or a sunset, and then a nice quote. So I would take those, post them up, and I would do that every day. And then I got a whiteboard at the house, and I was like, well, let me start doing something with this. And then
Probably easier to just do it on your own.
Because then
right?
also I was like, well, I don't really write anything anymore. Like, when was the last time you really physically write anything down? And nobody does that anymore. So I'm not saying nobody ever does it, but I was like, okay, I don't write things very much anymore. So I'm just going to start writing it on here as opposed to just posting an image, which is way easier. Yeah. And then I was on vacation. I was like, oh crap, how am I going to do this? Well, if you're in a hotel, they always give you a little pad. So I just started doing it on there, and then, Yeah.
Imagine trying to say that you want to wrap up a conversation with somebody who likes to pick up his phone and call somebody.
Yeah.
It's never happening, man. It's never happening. But I would before you cut me off, I need to know what your favorite pizza is. I'm turning this table.
Old school, without a doubt.
Old school.
I think not only is it the pizza, it's the crust, it's the atmosphere. I've recently talked to the owner, the actual owner, and he's redoing the whole place again because I guess it was the last 3 years he kind of had somebody else running it, and they didn't know so much what was going on. And once they found out what was going on, they're like, oh, hell no. And so people were out there. He's back in, and he's making it a lot better. So he's trying to bring it back to what it was before.
Yeah, I love how that place is like kind of really trying to hit home on like the nostalgia college town, small town vibe. I do love the vibe of that place.
Yeah, you could have that place in Fayetteville, College Station, Austin, wherever.
Why not Arlington?
Exactly. Lubbock. Yeah, exactly. Why not Arlington?
So yeah, exactly. And as that place develops, as that area develops more and more and more, that allows that to become a staple.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's
and I mean, right behind them is now the art district of Arlington. Oh, that part of Main Street is the art district, which is crazy and awesome.
Yeah, we just went through the remodel or the refresh of the
Theater Arlington.
Yeah, yeah, super nice, man.
Yeah. I still need to go back there. I talked to them, but they were still under construction. So
boo construction.
Yeah,
it seems like everything's in construction, but that's life. Right?
That's 30. Yeah,
right.
Or 35.
Yeah, I know. Right? It's about to be 287. Oh.
I live right over there now, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, you know what? We could have our own podcast just on the conversion, and we'll just call it the Dark Days. And all we do is talk about 820, 287, and 20 changing over. I mean, it's going to be great in like 15 years.
Of course. I mean, they keep saying we'll love 35 eventually, but oh
my god,
I still hate 35. Both of them.
Yeah, it's better now for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, obviously. Yeah. But thank you so much again. If people want to contact you guys, how do they do so?
Yeah. So if you guys want to reach out, the best way to reach out is probably through Instagram or Facebook. You guys could go to the website. They're both the same as they're pronounced. So 1877 Studios or revolver.media. Not .media.com. It's just revolver.media. And if anybody knows me or is connected through John, like I said, I'm a talker. So, call me. Let's talk, man, for sure. So, John, I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for being on. Yeah. And now, Dave Matthews Band.
That was a great wrap with Rody John and Kevin from 1877 Studios. Next, we've got Dave Matthews.
I love it.
Dude, I love the...
thank you so much to Kevin for being on the show. Thank you to Copperhead Jones. You got to hear at the top of the show, and you just heard again Zachary Lastname off his new album, The Beautiful Pieces of a Fragmented Mind. That album again is on all streaming services now. Copperhead Jones' album is also on all streaming services. So we're going to keep, highlighting local music, local artists. We've got some fun stuff in the making for the future when it comes to local music. So I can't wait to see what the future holds, not only for us, but for the local music that is happening all around us. But speaking of local music and things to do in the area, every Monday night is trivia night over at Dr. Jekyll's. That starts at 7 p.m. And then also every Monday is open mic comedy over at 1851. That is a sign up at 7:40. Show starts at 8 p.m. So that should be fun. Every first Tuesday over at Blitz Lounge, that is their karaoke night that starts at 11 p.m. It's a little late, but you could enter for a chance to win $200. And then earlier in the night, every Tuesday is comedy night over at Mavericks Bar and Grill /225 Barbecue. That starts at 3 p.m. Every Wednesday over at Jambo's Barbecue, catch UTA Jazz Night from 5:30 to 7:30, and then hop on over to Division Brewing later on Wednesday night. That is Trivia Night, starting at 7 p.m., ending at 9 p.m. Get a chance to win that big trivia belt. But yeah, while you're doing all those things, make sure to go out and eat local, drink local, and rediscover your city. Tag us and send those pictures over to us on Facebook, Arlington Citizen Media, Twitter, ATX Citizen Media. Tag us on Instagram, Arlington Citizen Media, and send those pictures the old-fashioned way. Email arlingtoncitizenmedia@gmail.com. Also go to our website, www.arlingtoncitizenmedia.com. Don't forget to subscribe and give those 5-star reviews of the downtown at Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and also hit us on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.